Good morning and welcome everyone to the Galan Lithium Investor Webinar. I'm Jane Morgan, the Investor and Media Relations Manager, and today we are joined by our Managing Director, Juan Pablo Vargas de la Vega. So today we'll be running through a company update followed by a Q&A session. So to ask a question throughout today's webinar, please use the Q&A function, which can be found at the bottom of your screen. JP, I'll hand over to you.
Good morning to everyone in Australia. Thanks very much, Jane, for organising the webinar. So I'm pleased to be back at the webinar and give an update on Galan and where we're at the moment. And importantly, I would like to highlight that we have just released a DFS for Phase 2. Phase 2 development is an exciting development for us because it's showing that we can get the Hombre Muerto West to close to 21,000 tonnes of lithium carbonate equivalent in a lithium chloride product. So a recap about Galan, and it's why we're doing what we're doing and what makes Galan so different to the rest of the company. So we are based at the Hombre Muerto Basin at the salt flat of the Hombre Muerto Basin in Catamarca, Argentina. And we mentioned that we're in a world-class location, mainly because our neighbors are POSCO, Livent, and Allkem. Livent and Allkem have indicated that they will be merging by the end of the year, so we keep an eye on that development. But importantly, is the house of lithium in Argentina. The whole lithium revolution started close to 30 years ago at the Hombre Muerto salt flat with Livent producing lithium carbonate for the lithium-ion batteries for the Sony Handycam. So Argentina is not a new place to lithium, and actually the lithium revolution started there. Importantly, POSCO has integrated all the way down to producing lithium from the salt flat, which is our neighbor to the north. And POSCO is an industrial company from Korea, and they are producing or will be producing lithium soon enough to be able to supply their own production line and feedstocks to Korea. The next thing about Galan is that we have a low risk and rapid development delivery. And what do we mean by that? We have released Phase 1 and Phase 2 DFS, and we are executing the construction of Phase 1. Phase 1 is a small, modest production of 5,400 tonnes of lithium chloride concentrate in production started on the first half of 2025. We have deliberately done this to start small because we want to walk before we run. We want to face lesser risk in execution, financial risk. We know that we're in murky waters, so we want to start from a small base that it translates into a capex development of around $100 million. So when you look into that, and instead of coming from most of the companies, will come up with a Phase 2 development sitting around the 20,000 tonne of lithium carbonate equivalent mark, you will see that it will be a lot harder for us to try to get the funds available and get them available for execution. So our motto is, let's do this on a baby step, get it right, and then growth as fast as we can. So once we've proven that we have no problems in growth, then we'll speed up things. And Phase 1 will be funding Phase 2. And next is we have a highly experienced team, and none of that could be done if we don't have a very hands-on and experienced team that have been in the lithium industry for the last 3 decades. I would like to highlight that we have Daniel Jimenez in our board, and he was the ex-senior VP of Commercial of SQM, and we got Juan Carlos Vargas, which was the ex-senior VP of Operations for SQM. The way that these guys have and the experience that they have in applying the execution and operate a project in lithium at the Lithium Triangle, it's fantastic. These guys also, they bring their own team, also bring their own experience. So it's endorsed fully, their knowledge, their experience into Galan, and I could not be happier with the team that we currently have. So no company is good enough without a team to execute, and we have one. And the next one, it's about the big picture for Galan. We have a path to growth to up to 60,000 tonnes, and we've seen that through the resource that we have. We have a large resource today sitting around 7.3 million tonnes of lithium carbonate equivalent with its highest grade in Argentina. I'll explain better in the 4 phases of development that we have, and start with the focus on phase 1. But this is very interesting if you believe where we can get this company from today to the next 5 years. We have big plans, we have big things that we want to execute, and I believe that we can go for a good ride in terms of valuation, in terms of delivery. And importantly, as I mentioned, we are already in the construction of phase 1, but we wouldn't be able to construct this without having the permits. And to have the permits, you have to have strong relationships with the government and also with the community. Galan has been a story starting for the last 6 years. I've been fronting myself several of these discussions with the communities and also with the government. And we've been doing this step by step, and the relationship been built on trust, and have been built on employment, and they have been delivering, built in the doing a hands-on development plan to deal with the local community. So if we don't have this endorsement, we don't have the permits, and we do have permits. So the reflection that I'm trying to say is that this is a well-thought process, and we are a flat organization that we actually listen to people what they need, and we're trying to address the problems the best we can. Therefore, we have the trust, and we can operate with a social license that has been endorsed through permits. And now I just mentioned phase 1 and 2. Phase 1 is in execution. The construction commenced. It's quite exciting to see where we're at. And phase 2, the development plan is to be a continuation of the execution on the construction site from phase 1 to phase 2. Therefore, the expected production phase for phase 2 should be in the second half of 26. This is a rapid development into a big picture that we want to see. So I'll be going through more details into the next into the next slides that we have. So this is a snapshot of the company. Yes, we have been going through ups and downs, and I've been looking at other companies that are producers in the lithium triangle, and some of them lost half the value in the last 2 months. We're not immune to this. We've been affected by a share price fluctuation, and also has been affected by the key questions that are, in my view, remain there to be answered. And one of them is the offtake agreement that we'll have for selling our lithium chloride concentrate. And the second one is for the gap funding for phase 1. And to those questions, we have a solution, and we're working hard on finding one. And I believe that before the end of the year, we should be able to flesh out our advances and where we're sitting. So it's like a duck, a lot of paddling underneath, but this is something is our priority. We have ticked the boxes all along the way for everything that we say in terms of studies, development, permits, and having a team to execute. So the next one for us is offtake and funding. The company, it's highly tightly in terms of our registry. We have only 348 million shares on issue. We have $45 million in cash as the last quarter. So we do still have funds to be able to execute phase 1 all the way to build the first 2 ponds that are very important in the evaporation process. So we believe that we get there in terms of funding and offtake agreement. So this is our news that should be coming up in the short to mid term, and it's also a very strong point of Galan where we're going to be in my view personal, that we're going to be having an inflection point into our development going forward. Also, and lastly, it's very well documented that companies that go through a development phase, they lose a significant amount of value because all the news that we have put out there, they're not that sexy for some. So it's not exciting about exploration that you have drill hole. It's all news in the market. But as soon as we get in closer to production, for us, phase 1 is the first half of 25. When way before that, we expect to have a re-rate. So in terms of where we located at the lithium triangle, and this is a satellite picture, just to illustrate where all the companies are sitting. Ombre Northwest is the light blue area to the left of the screen. Livent is everything that you see in red. To the northeast you'll see POSCO, and to the southeast, you'll see Allkem. And to the very south east part of the map, you'll see the Candelas project. As I mentioned, we have a large resource today of 7.3 million tons. It's going to give us the platform to have a larger development up to 60,000 tons per year on production of lithium carbonate equivalent, with a time frame that we believe that we could execute this within the next 5 years. So in terms of the highlights that I would like to point out, we just released the phase 2 DFS, and the phase 1 was released back in May. But importantly is that we have now a costed way to develop almost 21,000 tons of lithium carbonate equivalent solution in lithium chloride concentrate. We have the phase 1 being developed for 4,000 tons of lithium carbonate equivalent, and we are on the way to be a producer for phase 1. Now, in terms of the product that we are going to be producing, Joel already call it lithium spodumene. We call it high-grade lithium concentrate. And it's important to point out that this is a 6% lithium content. A 6% lithium content equates to the ones that are used to spodumene around close to 13%, 12.9% of lithium oxide. So the product that we can have, it can have more than double whatever gets exported from Australia to China today. And I believe that we can even generate higher than 6% if we can get this right. So where are we in terms of the project? As mentioned earlier on, we are working hard to get prepayment so we can get a less dilutive solution or a non-dilutive solution to execute phase 1, and hopefully it's phase 2. And the offtake with prepayment are the last leg of all the work that we're doing to execute Hombre Muerto West and become the next lithium producer. Conversations are advancing. We have done quite a bit of work. We have a few options. We are working this in parallel. We're trying to generate a bit of tension. And I think that we are on the right track to be able to deliver something to the market. As I mentioned, hopefully sometime before the end of the year or early this coming year. Now, in terms of what we also have secured is that we have a strong foothold of a lithium inventory. We just consolidated the northern part of Hombre Muerto West, and we call it Catalina, but it's not only Catalina, it's a few more tenements, and that will convey a new resource update that has not been disclosed. We are doing the math, we are doing the estimate, and we should be releasing the estimate as soon as that is finished. So that material is on the works, and we will have a resource estimate north of the 7.3 million tons that we said. I believe that we got an upside up to close to 10,000 tons in terms of exploration as a future target. But today, 7.3 million tons give us enough as a good platform to get to the 60,000 tons horizon that we're looking into production per year. So, and why we also confident that we can execute this is because we already have 6 wells constructed. All of them we tested the long-term pumping test. We know the grade, we know the flow test. We have been granted already another 6 wells. So by the time we finish all of this, we'll have a way to being able to execute all the way close to the halfway of phase 2 development in terms of pumping coming from the wells at Hombre Muerto without having any further permits granted. So this is good news because we are well ready, we are in construction, and as soon as we get the permits for phase 2, we'll be able to start advancing this and trying to accelerate the production as much as we can. So as I mentioned, we have permits work granted, and I'd like to stop here highlighting that our last conversation with the authorities in Catamarca indicated that Catamarca finally, for us, has put the trust in us, and they can see now. You can see the picture that we already started construction of Pond 1. We are advancing more than 15% in terms of development for our first pond. We are expecting to have this first pond fully constructed, lined and filled with brine this quarter of 2024, and we expect that to take 12 months or 12 months plus to come into delivering the first production. Therefore, H1 of 25, it's the right time for us to come online and start producing our high premium concentrate. And the authorities also have mentioned that they are intending to accelerate accelerate as much as they can from their end the permits for phase 2, because they do understand that phase 2 is a continuation of the work of phase 1. So with those meetings that we have had, the feedback that we have received, we believe that we are on the right track to become a significant lithium producer with a nimble strategy, low-cost strategy to get to market in 25 and to grow all the way to 26 and ramp up thereafter. Now, in terms of the financials, and this is a key thing about brines. Brines gives you the opportunity to be in the first quartile of the industry. So the phase 2 DFS showed in orange or yellowish orange line right next door to the Greenbushes operation, the costing of our estimate for our DFS phase 2. The interesting there, the post cash cash flow that we believe that we have in our study indicates that we could get up to $236 million per year for phase 2. And then we have phase 3 that will double that, and phase 4 that will be again another phase 2. And this, in other words, translates to around $4 million free cash flow per week. So we are working hard because this is our opportunity cost. We want to be able to capture that pricing. We're capturing this cash flow. And importantly, once we've seen the capex, we believe that we'll be in production for the life of the mine. What's the life of the mine? 40 years. So once we're in there, we'll be one of the low-cost producers in the industry. As well as the study that's been finalized, we have identified that we have the opportunity to optimize our capex, OPEX, and recoveries. So as we're working in developing the construction of phase 1, once we get to phase 2, we want to fine-tune as much as we can to improve on the economics of phase 2 and get to Galan to be as profitable as we can. And needless to say, as I mentioned earlier on, we are already in discussions and negotiations for potential offtakes and funding starting with phase 1. And this is the big picture now as we're all standing in terms, who are we and where are we going? As I mentioned, phase 1 is the first column. Where are we? We are in construction. We are expecting to be a producer of lithium chloride concentrate in the first half of 25. Phase 2, we deliver the DFS, and the product also is going to be lithium chloride concentrate. Now, phase 3 and 4, while they're very important and they're big in terms of size, we are evaluating what product are we going to come up with. We're looking as well as what's the best engineering solution. Do we have space to get these ponds for phase 3 and 4? Yes, we do. We have mentioned early on phase 4, when we did Candelas, that we have space at Candela itself, but we also have to the west of Ombro Muerto West, on the next valley, we have room for more ponds. We have not finalized, or we haven't done the engineering study, but we know that by the topography that we can work and have the ponds. We have a large space to put ponds for phase 3 and 4 if needed. And if there's further growth to add, we can also have that area that is Galan's to be used. So the big picture remains, and it's very strong. Our focus is today on getting phase 1 online, followed by phase 2, getting the offtake, getting the funding, and then get the ball rolling to grow. So if you look at this chart, we can grow 12 times phase 1. So that means that in the future, instead of having $4 million a week, we could be able to generate $12 million a week on free cash flow. So these are big numbers. The ambition's there. The work is there. We got the team. We want to get there. And yes, it is a long road, but we're not scared of the challenge. We are counter-cyclical in our approach. The market's been falling, but we're putting our money into development. We believe that we're going to get the cream of the pricing when the market turns around, and we'll be able to demonstrate with our strategy of chloride and not concentrate for the time being that we can deliver this. And I'll make us stop why chloride and not concentrate to start. It's because we're going to be saving the capex of our carbonate plant. We don't have to qualify our product. That'll be someone else's problem. And that means that we have a year or two less of working capital requirement, and also a year or two earlier of production, so of cash flow, because we're going to be producing concentrate early on. So all in all, our strategy is to use and replicate what Australia has done so successfully to produce concentrate and sell that as concentrate. If you ask Australia today to produce lithium hydroxide or carbonate, there wouldn't be any lithium industry in Australia, because it would have been really difficult for all the companies, especially the juniors, to be able to develop a hydroxide strategy within Australia. So if you look what the struggles that Avemale and Tianqi and all the other likes are having today in Western Australia, everyone else will be struggling and even worse. Australia would not be the largest lithium producer in the world. So we're applying the same fundamental strategic principle for us to get to cash flow. Nothing more, nothing less. Are we going to add value down the track? The answer is yes. Are we going to be able to do carbonate or hydroxide or lithium salts? That is the feedstock to lithium metal that could be used for lithium solid state batteries. The answer is yes. But let us walk before we can get to the next thing. We know where we stand, we know what we can do, and that's our focus today. So in terms of ESG, I've been covering the environment, I've been covering the labor force, and I've been covering also the relationships that we have with the government. And all in all, the things that we want to do is trying to do the right thing and trying to be affecting the environment the least possible, trying to train a local community as much as we can, trying to make participate the female force that today stands around 30% in Galan in Argentina, and trying to make Galan a long-term development strategy that has a good benefit for everyone from the community, from the environment, from the people that make Galan who we are today, and especially the teams in Argentina. As mentioned, the board, it's a very tightly held board that we worked together for the last, some of them for the last almost 6 years, some of them for the last early this year. I would like to highlight that Daniel is our key man in the commercial side, fronting all the offtake discussions that we have. It's a different thing to work in a room with Daniel that has done so many sales and discussions as part of SQM in the past. In the year 2018, probably he sold more lithium than anyone else in the world, and probably today maybe has sold more lithium than anyone else in terms of contracts through his career. Richard is a mining lawyer by background. Myself is in there. We got Terry Gardner as a strong presence in Perth, and Claudia Paul, and residing same as Daniel in Santiago, and both of them comes from the SQM background and from the SQM school that we have recycled in a way at Galan, and I'm very proud to have these team members in Galan. So now, in terms of the next level down and very important team that we have, I would like to highlight Juan Carlos Barrera. Look, I've been participating in several technical meetings with him. He brings a lot of knowledge, experience, and a book of what not to do. In 28 years at SQM in operations, execution, we're not reinventing the wheel here. It's really, I'm very pleased to have a team that can do this, and then you discuss things and they can explain you why things work or don't work. And if you come with ideas, they can explain where these things at. And having Juan Carlos and his team, it's fantastic. Alvaro, which is our group geology manager, is a hydrogeologist. He worked with Juan Carlos together for many years in operations at SQM. Boris comes also from working in the old Orocobre in Argentina for the project expansion. We have Francisco and Pablo, locals from Catamarca. These guys are hands-on there are our eyes and ears in ground in Catamarca, and without this team of people, we couldn't do what we're doing. So I'm feeling that we can get to execute a work and a fantastic team that we have today. So it's been great. So just to recap where we're at. We have a strong development and commitment to the local community. We have a strong team for execution with a lot of ex-SQM people, as I mentioned many times throughout my presentation. And we have the foundation of the best project in terms of grade in Argentina. And we have a fantastic inventory that we are looking forward to start production as soon as we can. So with that said, I'm very pleased to where we're going. And the company is at an inflection point. News are coming up, so it's very encouraging to where we can be in the next few months. It's all taking place, and it's all falling into place in Galan's view. And lastly, Greenbushes. I've been getting a lot of questions about Greenbushes. Yes, we went there, we drilled it, and we have learned a few lessons through the geology. But what I can say is that our first target, that was not a priority target, can show that we have a way forward for further exploration. We went not drilling the hot target. We drilled a target that we thought it could be interesting. The takeaway from the going into Greenbushes is that we went and drilled it, and we went and got a very clear view of the geophysics, how they work. So we're able to generate, in other words, targets. We're going to go back. We have further grants of permits from the farmers. So we're going to go back into Greenbushes. We are going to be doing further geological work, geophysics, and once we get the targets, we're going to go and drill it. Hopefully, what we're going to be targeting now is the fault that runs through the Greenbushes mine. And yeah, this is exploration. This is what we're in for, and we still believe that we've got a chance. So that's why we're going to go back into the Greenbushes with sharpened tools. Hopefully, it will give us the spodumene that we're looking to find. So it's a strong target. It's a hot area. We're finding outcrops of pegmatites everywhere, and we're just trying to find the spodumene coming up. So it's a very encouraging story. So we're not letting that go, and we're going to keep trying and going back earlier, but this year, and drill it as soon as we can. So now recapping Galan, and while you can read this yourself, and as explained through my presentation several times, I would like to say that why Galan? It's because we're going to be the next lithium producer at the Lithium Triangle. We're going to be in production of first half of 2025. We are counter-cyclical now approach, and I believe that we're going to be getting into this, and we're going to be able to produce what we said we'll do and grow into 60,000 tons in a time frame of 5 years. We're giving the first baby step, but we're going to be getting soon into the next level. And with that said, it's a fantastic journey in the last 6 years. And I'm happy to take the questions now, Jane. And thanks for the shareholders for the support. I know that we're going through rough times, and I believe that we can turn this around. And there's things in the brewing in the background that are, in my view, there will be good news coming up.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, JP. We've got a lot, so I'll jump into it now. So first one is from Richard. Has the company carefully considered a JV on HMW with a potential large development partner who could cover the capex in exchange for interest at an asset level?
Look, we have analysed several options in terms of what financially makes sense to Galan, including the description from Richard's question. So we have not left many stone unturned. We are our first and foremost thing for us is to get into production with a lower dilution. And yes, a JV has to stand in place. We're looking into that. If the right company comes across and things come the right way with the right percentage, and it's not a rip-off, because companies can, just want to have the cake and eat it, then yeah, we'll look into that. So all of these things are in the background, and we're not just sitting there and not thinking about what we can do. So it's always an option. We also now looking at what else can we do? Can we accelerate Candelas? Can we JV Candelas? What can we do to bring Galan into production as soon as we can? So the answer is yes, we have. And we have also, for Richard's answers, it's yes, we have. We're not like idling, sitting, doing nothing. So maybe the perception is that we're not looking to that, but the answer is that we're quite busy trying to get this online as soon as we can and trying to do it in the best way that makes sense for our shareholders as well.
Thanks, JP. So next one, how much has Galan already spent on works that were included in DFS 1, so the CapEx?
To date, from memory, it's anywhere between 10-15 million US being sunk onto, meaning wells, construction, camp, engineering studies, and the like, and probably a bit more. So it's been, we're advancing, and we put our money where our mouth is and our predicament. So we're already starting, and we believe that we can deliver the gap funding that is needed, and also to be able to get into production in the first half of 2025.
Thanks, JP. This one's come through a few times. So with the current market, is there interest in debt-based financing for projects at Galan stage?
Look, debt is not necessarily a preferred option. It's one of the options, but at the end of the day, it looks on the small footprint of the debt. What rate are you going to be facing? What are the terms? When can you repay? And all these moving parts that you want to be able to understand, and not being able again to get ripped off. And we don't want to be Altura again, because we know what happened to Altura and because they had debt. So look, it's a consideration. It's not the top priority. It's one of them, but as I mentioned, we analyze many things in parallel for a solution for for our gap. Prepayment is our number one, by the way.
Thank you. So next one, when will Galan explain the plan to achieve 60,000 tonnes per annum? So sharing this will increase market confidence, particularly around pond location for phase 3 and 4.
As I mentioned in my presentation, pond phase 3, it will be developed on the other side of the ridge, where Galan has the Rana 2 and 3 and maybe 4. So all that area, it's significantly large and flat for us to put ponds. Now, in terms of engineering, we have not done a detailed engineering of that, but that will be the execution for phase 3. So that will be the area for new ponds. And also, we mentioned in our PEA for Candelas that we have an area also for ponds, and that's been already done in our study. So our current focus is phase 1 and 2. Do we have space for phase 3 and 4? The answer is yes. Do we have the inventory? And the answer is yes as well.
Thank you, JP. Just further to that then as well. So assuming all goes reasonably and as planned, what year might the first full year of 60,000 tonnes LCE be?
Well, I would like to think that we can be within the next 5 years. As I mentioned, we also looking how can we expedite Candelas into all of these. And just bear in mind, we just finished the DFS for phase 2. So we are working with our team. What are the lessons learned from the previous 2 phases? What can we do better? How can we approach this in a way that doesn't sterilize our development? So in terms of the study and the time frame of development, yes, we want to be online as soon as we can. But even if we, if you extrapolate phase 2 into 3 and 4, you still need more than $1 billion to develop the lot. So, and we just want to get phase 1 right. So our ambitions are quite big, but it is in a systematic, step-by-step way. And I believe that within 5 years, we could be seeing the the beginning production of phase 4, maybe a bit early, depends how we can execute phase 3 and 4. But as I reiterate, if we can find ways to get 3 and 4 amalgamated into one and get that quicker, we'll do it. So we're not, but we don't just want to throw darts in the air without a solid study base. Otherwise, it's going to be backfiring on us. So we're not promising things that we cannot do.
Thanks, JP. Next one. So when should we expect a resource upgrade to include the Northern Catalina tenements?
Look, we are still drilling. We're still getting data from it. The data has been, as disclosed early on, it's been quite positive in terms of grade and flow rates. We want to put wells in there. We've got permits for wells. So as soon as we can, but as soon as workable, you know. The reason being is that adding more a resource today in terms of what we're trying to do to come online, it's our priority is to be a producer. When we are ready with a new resource update, we're going to do it. And while it's work in progress, we're going to be delivering that as soon as we can. We're still drilling, by the way, so that's why we don't have a snap picture of the resource and being able to deliver something. But the upside remains. It's north of 7.3 million tons all up, and we have an upside that is there. But is it going to move the needle now to add another 1 million tons or 2 million tons? Probably with the market as it is, probably not. But we want to be able to add as much tonnage as we can. But also important for us is to add that tonnage into a measured resource. So not an inferred, not an indicated, as measured, because we want to give certainty about our project.
Thanks, JP. Again, this one's come through a few times. Just if you want to maybe provide a bit of an update on the commercial negotiations for the offtake agreements.
Well, as we mentioned in our public announcement, we are working on a few options. The conversations and discussions are advancing. We have more than one option. That's what I can say. We're trying to generate tension. So we would like to think that we can have something by the end of the year in terms of at least an advanced phase of something that we can publish. So provided all goes well, look, that's what we're expecting. I feel confident that we'll get one. It's just the timing, how you get these moving parts and interest from all angles and newcomers at some point as well to what's best. So is it going to be resolved? The answer is yes. You know, is there interest for lithium chloride concentrate? And the answer is yes, and absolutely. There is a strong interest to buy or for us to sell our concentrate within Argentina without the export license. We're working on the export license. I've been asked that a few times, and there are elections in between. There's an election in a couple of weeks, and so we're not going to have much more of an update from that end until the new presidential elections happen in Argentina. So but we thought carefully about this point about what can we do. So if we were not going to carbonate, if we were in carbonate, this would not be a discussion in terms of export. We'll be able to export with by producing carbonate. But because we're producing chloride, if we want to export, we need a permit. If we don't want to export, yes, we do have a market. Why do we have a market? Because by 25, 26, there should be around 10 lithium carbonate plants in operation in Argentina. And we believe that we're going to be able to send our feedstock to more than one of them.
Thank you, JP. That answered the next question. So is there a plan to build our own lithium carbonate plant during phase 2, or is the plan to continue producing lithium chloride over the life of mine?
As we stand, phase 1 and 2 is concentrate. Phase 3 and 4 yet to be determined what downstream product that we're going to be doing. And I will touch again, lithium carbonate goes to LFP batteries. Lithium hydroxide goes to lithium ion batteries. And lithium chloride salt is the feedstock for lithium metal. And lithium chloride salt is something that we can produce ourselves down the track too. So look, there are a few avenues. We want the market to mature a little bit more before committing things, but the number one thing for us is cash flow.
Thanks, JP. So where does Galan stand with the qualification of the lithium chloride product that's going to be required for the off-takers?
There's no such a thing for qualification for concentrate. And you can see that I'll do a parallel with a lithium concentrate from spodumene. What are we doing though is providing samples from our from our pilot plant that we have already, our proof of concept at site to all the local and yet to be producers in Argentina. So we are at that point, and that's what we're having offtake conversations as well.
Thank you. Okay, so what percentage recovery from ponds is expected, and is there an upside to that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We mentioned on the study that we have 68.5% recovery today. And yes, can we improve recovery? And the answer is yes. How can we do that? Is when you harvest the salt, because once you get to a point of production, you need to harvest the salt because the ponds get full of salt. So you need to empty that salt and remove it and put it into call it a waste dump. But that salt also has lithium. So what we'll do is take those salts and lixiviate them. So put into a pile, let the brine, the concentrate brine, to flow into our line. You have a big liner, put the salt there, let the moist and concentrate to run through that, and then you can collect all this brine again. Those are the extra points that you can collect from operations. So that's not been fully estimated. Can we do it? The answer is yes. And we're also looking at how can we improve the recovery by using reagents a little bit better. So we're using lime, and we're going to be using calcium chloride. So this is work in progress, but our starting point of 68.5% recovery, I don't think it's about one for us for the time being.
Thank you, JP. Another one that's come through a few times. So how many companies are we engaging with as potential offtake partners?
That's a tricky question. I mentioned that we are in parallel working with more than one. So that's all I can say.
Okay. Again, this one's come through a few times. So can you explain the strategy of the Canadian JV with RDS and how this fits in with Argentina?
Yeah, I know really, well, we are a lithium company. And yes, our focus is to become a lithium producer. And yes, our focus is in Argentina, get phase one online. But we're also seeing an opportunistic time that something came into our attention, and we quickly decided whether it was worth the investment or not. And it was a low entry point. So for a low entry point, that I will not take our eyes from the main game for us. It's something that we discuss as a board, and we like what we have. The address was significantly important, right next door to Patriot, and right next door to Corvette. And for a low entry point, and for a work that will not be developed by us, this will be done by Redstone. We believe that that is something that we can do and develop. And it can be developed without us removing our focus into our development. We have a project in Greenbushes. We had Greenbushes. We were part of this as we are locals in Western Australia. So we do have a team in Western Australia to look at Greenbushes. So we're looking at other opportunities, but we are doing this in a way that it doesn't distract us as a team from the main game that it's Argentina today, and to become a lithium producer.
Thanks, JP. I think just to maybe recap, do you want to just let the webinar attendees know what investors should be looking forward to over the next sort of 3 to 6 months?
Well, the main catalyst and that I would like to highlight as I started my presentations are the offtake agreement and prepayment funding, and any other funding that we may receive in parallel as well. So these are going to be coming up, give it 2-3 months, and also the completion of pond number 1, which is our main pond, is the biggest one, and I think that would be for us a milestone to have that pond, as I mentioned, fully built, lined, and filled with brine by the first quarter of 2024. So these are around the corner catalyst, and thereafter we're going to keep updating the progress on phase 1. We're going to be also announcing when we get the permits for phase 2. So give us until mid next year. So probably that's be more than 6 months. But all of these are running parallel, and as we're maturing as a company, we'll be updating all commercial developments that we have into.
Wonderful. Well, JP, that's all we've got time for today. I want to thank you all for joining the Galan Lithium Investor Webinar. If we've missed any of your questions, please feel free to reach out via the contact details, which can be found at the bottom of our ASX releases. But we look forward to hosting you again next time.